Hi, my name is Sue, and thank you for joining me today.
Mama knows.
With Mother's Day coming up, I wanted to make a Mother's Day card for my mom. She's a very special person to me, and I wanted to create a card that was just for her. For this card, I really wanted to experiment with black cardstock and this vine stamp image from this set. And in order to really for the image to show up on black, I decided to emboss it with the rose gold, and I really gave it a lot of Versamark on here to make sure that it really covered, and I got every little spot of the vine. Since it is such a large image, I wanted to make sure I got everything. It's hard to tell when you're using the Versamark on the stamps whether or not you have everything, so just want to keep hitting it over and over. And I'll show later I actually did miss a spot on here, but you really can't tell when you're doing it. And then I use coffee filters for when I have large images like this. And then I also use lots of embossing powder. You're going to put it right back in the jar when you're done, so don't be afraid to use it. You really want to make sure you've got everything covered on the whole image. And I found I used to just try to save every last drop of the powder, but if you don't get a good cover on it, it doesn't show up. So you want to make sure you've really put all that powder as much as you can. You're always going to put it back in, so don't worry about putting too much on, and what's not going to stick will just fall off when you shake it. Give it a good shake when you're done, and it will just fall into the coffee filter. What's nice about this rose gold, it's so nice and so smooth, so when you're heat embossing, you can see everywhere that it has already done its melting in. It's just so striking how it comes to be after you've done it. It's so fun to watch. I could use this rose gold forever. It's so pretty, and especially on the black. It's just beautiful. Also, I wanted to try my Prisma colors to see how they react on the black cardstock. So I picked the spring green because it was the brightest green and kind of filled in all the little leaves that are from this vine. It was so smooth and so simple with these colors just to put them in the little openings of the vine. And probably could have used the chartreuse, but I thought the spring green was just a good enough green on here. Now you could see here where I did have that mist embossing powder where it didn't go all the way on the vine, but I just put the green in there anyway and kind of filled it up. And I knew that I was going to have some embellishments on there that I could probably cover up this little area that didn't quite get. Shh, don't tell anyone, but here's a little secret that only card makers know. If you have a piece of cardstock you really like I like this gold, and I cut it down to the size of the panel, and then I cut my circle that I'm going to use for the sentiment out of the middle. And when you put the card panel on, you have no idea that that circle came out of there, and I didn't have to waste another piece of that gold cardstock. Just a little secret. Shh. I went back kind of like to old school. Instead of stamping the leaf on white cardstock and then trying to do a dark color, I actually did the leaf with Versamark. And Versamark just brings out the darkness of the paper without having to stamp another layer. It just adds the same color, just a little bit darker. It's just a trick that we used to use a while ago, and it was kind of fun to go back to that you just use the Versamark alone. And since I have the die for cutting the leaf out, it actually doesn't leave a white border because it cuts it out of the same color green that you have the leaf cut on. And I had previously die cut the rose and used the rose gold embossing for that. For the greeting, I chose this stamp set because it had Mother's Day greeting. It had two of them, and I thought both would fit on this circle die just perfect. I did put those on the stamp positioner, but I did do it separately, each one separately. I didn't try to do it all together at one time. It was too hard. And again, I used the rose gold and I put lots of it so that it would make sure that it covered. One thing that you want to do when you're using embossing folders or embossing powder is when the door is open and there's breezy outside or you have the fan going, just watch your paper because it slides away on you. I kept having troubles because it was blowing away. After I was done, in order to attach it to the gold, which is a heavier card base, I wanted a good secure adhesive. So I put it through my Xyron machine. I have the smaller one. This is the 2.5-inch model. And I put that through and I put all the other embellishments, the rose and the leaves, to make it easier. It kind of makes like a little sticker. And then you can just, after you're done, you don't have to wait for it to dry. You can just then layer it the way you want, kind of like as a sticker form. So here I just put all of them together and then I tore it off and I have a sheet to work with. Putting the sentiment on the gold then becomes real easy because the gold is sitting there stationary. It's not going to move all over. It makes it real easy to put it on there. And then from here I can transfer it to the card panel that I did, and the sticker is already on the gold as well, which is perfect, and it has the right adhesive all the way around. I didn't have to worry about it lifting up at all. And I just put it in the center of the card panel here. And once that was centered the way I wanted it to, then I could add the rose and the leaves, and I chose to put that on the bottom, but really it looked good anywhere on the card. Since I had that little mistake on the bottom where I didn't quite get all the embossing on the panel, I wanted to cover that up, and so the leaves was a perfect remedy for coloring that little bit that I just didn't quite get with all the embossing powder previously. And after that was all the way you want it, or I put it on there the way I wanted, and I decided to put it in the center. It seemed to be like the best place, and again I covered up that little spot and it worked perfect. It was just centered just perfect here. So now comes our little secret that I gave you earlier, is now we're going to put it on that gold panel. And look, nobody knows you have a circle in the back. It's our own little secret. And you could still put the adhesive on just like you did. And then the little adhesive that goes through the hole will be able to be used when it goes onto the final card panel. But what circle underneath here? Nobody knows. And so I just put that on there, and the gold was just 1/8 of an inch all the way around from the panel that I had created, and put that on there. Gave it a good little secure push down because, like I said, the cardstocks are thick and I just wanted to make sure that it was adhered. And then from that I then used the score tape, double-sided tape, in order to put that on a white card base. It probably was an overkill to do the score tape. You probably could use something a little bit different, but I know that since it's such a heavyweight card, I just wanted to make sure it didn't pop off the card base. So that's why I used the score tape. And you can see the adhesive, the double-sided, the tape runner is through the hole. So that gave it that little extra glue on there as well. One thing I do when I go to put my panel on my card base is I always fold it out to kind of give me a flat surface. It's easier for me to see all borders all the way around if I lay it out flat. So that's what I did here. And then to add a little bit extra, I added some Nuvo drops, and I put those around just in different areas. No method or anything, just what looked good. Did it in like every little blank space I could find. And I think this is called Autumn Pearl, and I'll put the description down below for the direct name of it. And that's what I did to just give it a little bit more dimension on the card around the black cardstock. Overall, I was real pleased with the rose gold on this black card. It just kind of really popped the way I wanted it to. I hope you enjoyed this video honoring my mom for Mother's Day. Please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you'll see future videos of mine. Thank you.